Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I'm Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Huseman, and we are here for the COTA preview for the NASCAR Cup Series. So welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon, and I want to say thank you for adding that intro music. That kind of gets me jazzed up, I like it.
I kind of like it too. I might have to do some magic and see if I can't put that into our intro instead of what we got now.
Yeah. Well, looking at the Duramax Grand Prix NASCAR Cup Series race at the Circuit of Americas, if you love racing, you're going to love this. We got one open team in addition to the 36 charter teams, and that's going to be the number 33 of Jesse Love. Now, throughout the year, it'll be a rotation. Richard Childress will have that third car. I know Austin Hill is scheduled for some starts, but this one going to Jesse Love. So that'll be interesting. I like seeing Jesse Love, your defending O'Reilly Series champion, up here in the Cup Series.
Yes, indeed. All right, now the NASCAR Cup Series is racing the Duramax Texas Grand Prix, powered by Raildyne at Circuit of the Americas this weekend. That track is a 2.4-mile asphalt road course, and the race will be on Sunday, March 1st. That will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time with coverage on Fox, radio coverage on PRN, SiriusXM NASCAR Channel 90, and we'll be racing a distance of 228 miles over 95 laps. Stage 1 is 20 laps, ending on lap 20. Stage 2, 25 laps, ending on lap 45. And the final stage is another 50 laps, ending on lap 95.
That's right. Coming off of last year, the storyline throughout the offseason involved this driver indirectly, but he has been the story as it comes to this year. Tyler Reddick's going for a historic three-peat. Tyler Reddick became the sixth driver to win the first two races in a Cup Series season last weekend in Atlanta. No driver has won the first three races. And if you look at his odds, he's finished top 10 in all five COTA races, including a win in 2023, and finished top 10 in five of the last six road courses. So I think he's got a real shot at it.
I think it's entirely possible. The other drivers that have won those first two races of the season goes all the way back to 1957 with Marvin Punch, who ended up finishing third in the third race of the season. Bob Wellmore in 1959, his third race was at Daytona, and he had a 41st place finish. David Pearson in 1976 at Rockingham, the third race that year, he finished 29th. Jeff Gordon isn't far behind him from 1997 at Richmond, the third race that year. He came home fourth. And Matt Kenseth was the last driver to do it before Tyler Reddick. And that was in 2009 when the third race was at Las Vegas. And he ended up finishing 43rd. Now, I think Tyler Reddick has a chance to be up there in that top five group, if not getting the first place finish this weekend at COTA.
I certainly think so. And look at the names he would join then if he were to get a top five, let's just say. Marvin Ponch with third and Jeff Gordon with fourth. So that's pretty impressive.
It really is.
When we look at organizations to win those first three races, twice a team has done that, winning the first three races. DePaulo Engineering in 1957, two of those were with Marvin Ponch, but then Fireball Roberts also won. And then you also had Petty Enterprises in 1963 as Jim Pascal won twice and Richard Petty won. So those are organizations that have done it.
Yes, indeed. Now, prior attempts by teams to win the first three races of the season, there's a list here. In 1950, Harold Kite Racing, the third race was Langhorne. The best finisher, Tim Flock, finished in fourth place. Let's go to the more recent teams. RFK Racing in 2009 is the most recent, when Las Vegas was that third race. Greg Biffle ended up finishing in seventh place for that organization. Same thing happened in 2001 with Dale Earnhardt Inc. at Las Vegas when Steve Park finished 7th. And it was Jeff Gordon finishing 4th at Richmond in 1997 for Hendrick Motorsports. But those drivers with those first finishes, that's pretty impressive in 1957 and 1963.
And when I look at this, it's kind of surprising. We talk about some great organizations. That's only been done 8 times since 1950. So that tells you how tough and competitive it is. I would have thought Petty Enterprises might have been on there more than it was.
Yeah, it's tough to do. There's no doubt about it.
And so when we look at it, we're talking about Tyler Reddick, but the organization is 23-11, and their racing's a breakthrough season. They've won consecutive races for the first time in history here at Daytona and Atlanta. They won more than 2 races in 2026 than all of 2025, because Bubba Wallace won the 2025 Brickyard 400 as their sole victory. Now, they became the 9th team to win the first 2 races of the season, and first since 2009 with RFK. And the last team to win the first 3 races was Petty Enterprises in 1963. They've led 31% of the laps here in 2026 so far, 148 out of 471, and that is the most of any team. And they lead all teams 5 top 10s, and then RFK Racing is the next most with 3. And 2 of the 3 drivers to finish in the top 10 in both races drive for 23-11. Reddick won, and Bubba Wallace, finished 10th and 8th. So they are definitely starting out on fire.
It's been a good year for 2311 racing. Let's look at some of the stats here for Bubba Wallace in 2026. And this is for laps led in the top 5. He comes, first of all, laps led. He ranks 86 laps led. That's first in the series. Laps in the top 10 at 231, also first. Laps in the top 10 at 335, also first. All of these are first. Stage wins, he's got 2. Stage points at 29, and the average running position at 8.75. He leads in all of those categories, which is pretty impressive.
Well, hopefully he can have a little bit of a turnaround on road courses. I know that's not his strong suit, but this strong start helps offset that. Now, when we look at some historical season milestones, 2026 marks the first time since 1988 that Ford or Chevrolet failed to win either of the first 2 races of a season. This is the first time Toyota has ever won the first 2 races of a Cup Series season. This is also the first season since 2020 that Hendrick Motorsports or Joe Gibbs Racing each had only 1 top 10 through the first 2 races. Talking about these power organizations, 2311 trying to become one of them. Now, the Cup Series has seen 122 lead changes throughout these first 2 races of 2026, which is a new record. The previous record was 105 lead changes, and that was set just last year in 2025. Again, love the competition we're starting to see amongst all organizations. And Kyle Busch made his 1,300th career NASCAR start. That's the top 3 series at Atlanta. And that surpassed Kevin Harvick at 1,299 for the most in NASCAR history. That was one got overlooked. I don't know why that wasn't up on for our preview. I read it after the fact, but yeah, he set that record this weekend.
He sure did. 1,300 career starts. That's impressive. So let's talk about the points battle update. Due to the added points for a winner in 2026, drivers now get additional 15 points for winning a race, a total of 55 points. And Tyler Reddick currently has a 40-point lead over second place in the points after these first 2 races and first 2 victories of the season for Tyler Reddick. Wallace, without the added points, his lead would be 10 points. He's got some extra points there as well. The gap from first to second is equal to the gap from second to 16th in points. So that's kind of interesting. And currently, I know it's tight as you get closer to the cut line. Currently, 7 drivers who made the 2025 playoffs are more than 80 points behind the points leader. Larson, Berry, Cindric, Hamlin, Bell, Bowman, and Dillon are drivers that are all well below Tyler Reddick. So they've got some racing to do, Lucy.
They do. That's quite the hole. But I want to say this is part of that change with the chase format. The win doesn't lock you in, but it shows it's still a benefit to winning as they added those 15 points. So that's real interesting. And we'll see how that plays out through the next 24 races before we get to the chase. Because those drivers you mentioned that are in a hole, they're going to need to win some races and get those bonus points.
Yes, they are.
Now, when we look at some other early season trends, there's 3 drivers who qualified for the 2025 playoffs that have an average finish of 30th or worse through these first 2 races of the season, where they were on that list. Austin Dillon, average finish 33.0, Alex Bowman 31.5, and Austin Cindric at 30.0. Now, with that, 3 drivers have finished in the top 10 in both races. For 2026, we talked about the 2311 Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, but you also got Zane Smith from Front Row Motorsports right up there with them.
Yeah, would you have had those on your bingo card coming into the season, Jay?
Honestly, Bubba Wallace maybe for his super speedway prowess. Zane Smith, no, and Tyler Reddick is one of those of could have happened, but I didn't necessarily see coming off of the season he had last year. So quite the turnaround.
It really is. I like seeing the different names up there. Okay, now we've got a couple charts here. Drivers who finished top 10 in both races this season. We just mentioned them, Tyler Reddick, Zane Smith, and Bubba Wallace. Tyler Reddick, of course, has a first and a first. Zane Smith had a 6th at Daytona, 7th at Atlanta, and Bubba Wallace, they had that 10th at Daytona with an 8th at Atlanta. And drivers in the hole, we've talked about them and some of their average finishes, but let's give you the rest of them. Let's start with Austin Cindric at 30.0, Ty Gibbs also at 30.0, Connor Zelich at 31.5, along with Alex Bowman at the same 31.5, Todd Gilliland at 32.0, and Austin Dillon at that 33.0. So those drivers are going to be looking for wins as we continue into this season. And there's a couple of them on there that are pretty good on the road courses. So they might pick up some ground pretty quick.
Yeah, but as you get to this next orange category, that means they got to go through Shane Van Gisbergen. As we look at his road course dominance, he won the last 5 road courses. Only Jeff Gordon won 6 straight from 1997 to 2000. Now, he can become the first driver to get their first 7 Cup wins on road courses. But here's where we got to look at. He scored his best oval finish of 6 at Atlanta. He's starting to really round himself out on all tracks. So keep an eye on Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yes, that's the difference between just winning at the road courses and being a big contender at every track. The fastest driver period, well, Shane Van Gisbergen's average finish sits at 7.58 on road courses, and that's second best all time among drivers with 4 or more starts, behind only Hall of Famer Fireball Roberts, who is at 2.78. So there's a little bit of a gap there, but impressive all the same. Then Shane Van Gisbergen led 52% of the road course laps last year. He ran inside the top 5 for 85% of the laps and inside the top 10 for 95% of the laps. So he's an upfront contender. And he's also 52% of the laps led on road courses. That's the highest percentage by a driver since 2008, when Kyle Busch came in at 64.4% over 2 races. And the highest among seasons with 3+ road course races. So some good stats there for Shane Van Gisbergen. But let's talk about the record-setting dominance he had last year. Three of Shane Van Gisbergen's wins last year had the largest margins of victory for road courses since 1988. At Mexico City, that gap was 16.567 seconds, and at Watkins Glen, 11.116 seconds. At the Charlotte Mobile, his gap was at 15.16 seconds. So some big margins of victory for Shane Van Gisbergen on road courses. And 25 was the very first season since 1966 where two road course races had margins of victory over 15 seconds. So he's breaking records and making waves on road courses.
Well, and let's break down a little bit more his phenomenal 2025 road course record. The COTA race last year, he finished sixth. He led 23 laps in the first two stages, then got shuffled back on that final stage. Mexico City, he was first. He won the pole, led 60 laps, and won by that largest margin of victory on a road course since 1979 at 16.567 seconds. Chicago Street Course did his thing, as that's where he started, won the pole, and led 26 laps en route to his win. At Sonoma, again, this was matching up with Jeff Gordon. He won the race, but he won the pole as well, led 97 laps, the most ever by a driver at Sonoma, and held off Chase Briscoe over 3 late race restarts. Watkins Glen, he got the win, took the lead after flipping stage 1, still led 38 laps in total, and won by the largest margin of victory at Watkins Glen since 1987 at that 11.116. And then the Roval, again, outstanding margin of victory of 15.16 seconds. He led 57 laps, was outside the top 10 for only 2 laps. I mean, when we look at that most consecutive road course starts with a win, he's right there with some all-time greats. Jeff Gordon had a streak of 6 from 1997 to 2000. And again, at that time, there were only 2 road courses on the circuit. You see there, Watkins Glen and Sonoma for Jeff Gordon. The 5 by Shane Van Gisbergen started in 2025 at Mexico City and is currently active. We'll see if he can tie that this weekend. Then you had Chase Elliott, who did it in 2019 to 2020. There you had it end at the Charlotte Roval. And going back, way back in history, Dan Gurney had a streak of 4 as well. And that went from, if you remember, Riverside in 1963 to Riverside in 1966. And that used to be the start of this season. That was a little before my time, but I know my history. That actually used to be the first race of the season back in that era.
Okay, Shane Van Gisbergen's Cup history at COTA. In 24, he finished 20th. He had a speeding penalty in stage 2 and a slow pit stop due to a gear issue at lap 50. In 25, he finished 6th at COTA. He led 23 laps in the first 2 stages before getting shuffled back in the final stage. So, he wants to get after that win there. So we'll see what happens here in 2026.
And when we look at his speed rank on road courses, again, it's all about finesse and how you handle the car. We've seen that. They put a special camera on his feet. He even allows that, surprisingly. But when you look at these tracks, COTA, Mexico City, the Chicago Street Course, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and the Roval, he is only outside of 10th once, and that's 14th at COTA in 2024. And the one, even with the DNF finish, his speed ranked 2nd on the Chicago Street Course in 2024. All of the others are in the top 5, most of them being first, as you can see. That's unbelievable.
It is. It's pretty impressive. Okay, now, and it should be celebrated. I really want to say that because I know sometimes people get a little frustrated with him winning all the time, but we should be celebrating the success that he has. Shane Van Gisbergen is going for his 7th win. This will be his 53rd career start this weekend at COTA. And we've got some other stats here, Jay.
Well, when we look at that of just the fewest number of starts to get 7 Cup wins, go back to 1952. You got Marshall Teague, did it at Jacksonville, Florida. And that's a little before my time. There's a couple of tracks on here I don't even recognize. But the low numbers there, 21 starts, Curtis Turner, 28. Fonte Flock took 39. Tim Flock, 43. Dick Hutchinson, 45. Herb Thomas, 45. AJ Foyt, 47. And Speedy Thompson at 47. When we look at other notable drivers to get starts, 7 wins, look at some of these names. Tony Stewart took 61. Ryan Newman, 70. Jeff Gordon, 78. Jimmy Johnson took 80. And then you got Greg Biffle at 91 and Kurt Busch at 93. So he really is. I know it's road courses, but like Sharon said, you got to celebrate that talent and skill for the road courses.
Yes, indeed. Let's look at some trends at COTA and strategies that are being used. Only once has a stage winner gone on to win COTA. Tyler Reddick actually won stage 2 in 2023 and then went on to win. The driver who led the most laps went on to win 3 of the 4 COTA races in the next gen car. Only Kyle Busch last year did not win. So most of the time they do, whoever leads the most lap will go on to win. Now, 3 of the last 4 COTA races were caution-free in each of the first 2 stages, and 5 COTA races had 9 different stage winners. Only Denny Hamlin is the only driver to have multiple stage wins with 2. So kind of hard to have multiple stage wins at COTA, but if you're leading and up front, you've got a pretty good chance you're going to win that race.
And we've talked about Shane Van Gisbergen and some of the big margin of victories, but COTA's actually had some tight finishes. They had the closest margin of victory among all road courses in Cup Series in each of the last 2 years. And last year's 0.433 seconds was the smallest for a road course margin of victory since the Daytona road course in August of 2020. And when we look at the pit strategy, 2025, there's some stars by Christopher Bell's names, and that's because the track distance changed there. So keep that in mind. But you look at the pit stops for Christopher Bell, it was laps 16, 41, and 70. William Byron, 12, 27, and 44. Tyler Reddick made 4 stops in 2023 at laps 12, 31, 41, and 57. Ross Chastain, 3 at lap 12, 27, and 41. That's almost identical to William Byron's. And then Chase Elliott in 2021 actually only stopped twice on lap 7 and lap 40. Now, all of those stops were for 4 tires. So there's quite the range of pit strategy there, man. Those crew chiefs got their work cut out for them.
Well, and I think that'll be something interesting to watch this year. They did reduce the length of the track, which accounts for those 4 stops in 2023 versus the 3 stops that we see in the more recent seasons. But it's still going to be interesting to see if anybody will try to do what Chase Elliott did back in 21 and make it on just 2 stops. Might be hard to do, but we'll have to keep an eye on it this weekend. Okay, most laps led at Circuit of the Americas. William Byron has the distinction in this category with 71 laps led on the left side of the chart here. Kyle Busch at 54. Just 1 behind him is Tyler Reddick. Then it goes to 45 for Ross Chastain, 23 for Shane Van Gisbergen, and 18 for Christopher Bell. And then COTA is a hit or miss track for several drivers, but let's look at what their margin of victories are. William Byron has an average finish of 6.2. That's second best of all tracks. Alex Bowman comes in at 5.2, which is best at all tracks. Tyler Reddick, it just keeps getting better. A 4.6 average finish, best of all tracks. And then Ross Chastain, his best at all tracks at 5.6. Chase Elliott, best at all tracks, 6.3. But then we jump down to the worst at all tracks. This is not a good track for Bubba Wallace with an average finish at 29.8. And Brad Keselowski, surprisingly, at 23.2. Those 2 guys will be trying to pick up some tips and cues from other drivers perhaps this weekend.
Yeah, Bubba Wallace, I was aware of. You said it. That's kind of a surprise seeing Brad Keselowski on there.
Yes.
Now, two of those that were on the list of best driver top 10 consistency, Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick. They're the only drivers to finish in top 10 in all 5 COTA races. No one has finished in the top 5 in all 5 of them. So when we look at their stat lines there, Alex Bowman, he's going back to 2021, 8th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 9th. And then Tyler Reddick, 9th, 5th, 1st, 3rd, and 3rd. Again, Tyler Reddick going for that three-peat of 3 races in a row. He's got a strong case.
I think it's entirely possible. We'll have to wait and see what happens. It's a must-see race. We'll put it that way.
I think so.
Okay, road course trends and statistics. Circuit of the Americas is the first of 4 road courses on the Cup schedule this year. That's the fewest that we've had on the schedule since 2020. In 20 of 23 road course races with the next-gen car, the race winner started in the top 8. And each of the last 5 road course winners started on the front row. Now, sometimes like at Daytona and Atlanta, we were not saying that the winner started on the front row. We were saying the exact opposite. So in road courses, though, that front row is where you want to be. 4 of the last 6 first-time winners in the Cup Series were on road courses. That's pretty cool. And 5 of the last 15 road course races were won by drivers getting their very first road course win. So some things to keep an eye on this weekend.
Boy, that's what with the top road racers we got right now. I don't see that those two first-time winners or first-time road course win, but could happen. You mentioned only 4 road course races on the schedule this year, and I think we had been as high as 7 or 8, back down to 4. Kind of a margin. We talked about there only being 2 back in the day. We have COTA here this weekend. Watkins Glen changed in the season, but still on the schedule, will be in May on the 10th. And then we got Coronado, which is new this year. That's the street course or road course out in San Diego, will be on June 21st, and Sonoma on June 28th. And when we look, there's a little bit of a range, but the road courses are pretty typically the same. COTA, 2.4 miles in length with 17 turns. They'll run 95 laps. And then Watkins Glen is 2.45. That only has 7 turns. That's where we talk about that one being a lot more about speed than handling. They run 100 laps, 245 miles. Coronado is going to be the big one. 3.4 miles, 16 turns, but it'll only be 75 laps, covering a distance of 255 miles. Again, that's the longest one. And then Sonoma is at 1.99 with 11 turns. Very technical course. 110 laps for a total distance of 218.9.
I like the road course races, so I'm looking forward to all 4 of those races.
I do. I know some fans, especially kind of being that SVG was winning them, 7 seemed to be a lot. I was okay with it. I don't think I want to see them go any lower than 4, though.
I agree. I think we need road courses on the schedule without a doubt. The 25 road course winners from last season and pole winners is included on this. And then the winning race team, COTA in 25 in March. Tyler Reddick won the pole, but it was Christopher Bell winning the race for Joe Gibbs Racing. In June of last year at Mexico City, Shane Van Gisbergen swept the pole and the win. He actually did that at the Chicago Street Race and Sonoma as well, all for Trackhouse Racing. So 3 big ones there for Shane Van Gisbergen. And then at Watkins Glen, it was Ryan Blaney taking the pole, Shane Van Gisbergen winning the race again for Trackhouse Racing. And in October at the Charlotte Roval, Tyler Reddick took the pole, but Shane Van Gisbergen, 5 out of 6 wins for Shane Van Gisbergen and Trackhouse Racing. So pretty impressive as far as our road course winners from last year.
Well, and I'm not going to try and do your show for you tomorrow with the fantasy picks, but you only see 5 names there when it comes to pole or race winner, and obviously the most popular one, Shane Van Gisbergen. So get the feeling you and Taz are going to talk a little bit about SVG tomorrow.
I think so. I think he's going to be the low-hanging fruit.
Now, when we look at active road course winners, though, there are some other names you got to at least keep your eye on. They may not have been, especially in this next-gen car. Chase Elliott's at the top of the list with 7 wins. I believe all of those are prior to this next-gen car. He was the dominant guy. But then you got Kyle Larson with 6 and Shane Van Gisbergen already up there with 6. Kyle Busch with 4. Then a bunch with 3, AJ Allmendinger, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick. William Byron has a pair. Other drivers that we saw the names only have 1 victory, though. Ryan Blaney, Alex Bowman, Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, Michael McDowell, and Daniel Suarez. And when you look deeper, though, we don't have those stats. But again, they are very consistent, so they're in contention. So don't count them out.
I would agree. Okay, let's look at a little closer at Christopher Bell's COTA's mastery. He has 5 races at COTA with 3 top 3s, including his 25 win and 2 finishes in the 30s. So a little bit of a hit or miss there for Christopher Bell. He finished in the top 5 in 6 of the last 7 road course races, including 3 runner-ups and a win at COTA last year. And he also won this race last year, his 3rd top 3 finish in the last 4 COTA races. And he's a 3-time road course winner. So COTA is definitely a track that suits Christopher Bell, but you got to keep your eye on him because he can either be in the top 3 or he's going to be back in the 30s.
Well, and I'll give you a little bit of breakdown of that, his history there. You mentioned 2021, he finished 38th, eliminated in a crash on lap 19, but he was running 11th. In 2022, as a 3rd place, he overcame early steering issue, got the free pass, and then surged back to 3rd in overtime. 2023, he was 31st, he led lap 1 and then spun twice before being eliminated in an overtime restart crash. Then 2024, 2nd, made a late charge as others had to save fuel. He came up 0.6 seconds behind the number 24 William Byron. And in 2025, got the victory. He pitted late during green flag stops in that last stage. Again, pit strategy is huge on road courses. He then took the lead with 5 laps left and won the race.
Okay, Kyle Busch's COTA excellence. Kyle Busch has an average finish of 5.3 at COTA since joining Richard Childress Racing in 2023, his best among active tracks. And we can take a little bit closer look at his stats here. At COTA, his best finish is 2nd place, but his average finish there is 5.3. The Chicago Street Race, best finish of 5th. His average is 6.3. At Sonoma, best finish is 2nd with an 8.0 average finish. Darlington has a 10.8 average finish, but his best finish at Darlington is a 2nd. Same with Charlotte. He had a 12.0 average finish, but a 6th place, his best finish. A 4th place is the best finish at Dover with a 12.0 average finish. And at Atlanta with 12.4, his best finish is a 3rd. So, not too shabby for Kyle Busch on road course.
You know, and that's another one I wouldn't have considered him as one of the more solid, but those stats show how solid he is. All right. Now, I mentioned Chase Elliott. He kind of went from the road course king to a side note. He leads all drivers with 11 top 5 finishes in the next-gen car on road courses, but none of his 7 road course wins came in this next-gen car. So I was correct on that.
Yes.
When we look at comparing the two, his next-gen career versus his career prior, in the starts, 22 in the next-gen, he had 19 in the previous generations. Again, no wins compared to 7, 2 top 2s compared to 9 prior. He's got 11 top 5s in both. The top 10s is pretty similar, 14 compared to 13. The stage wins. Again, just doesn't seem to be at the very front of the pack. He's only got one stage win in the next-gen car, whereas he had 7 prior. The average start, and this is kind of where it comes into play to begin with, 11.32 versus 8.11. The finish we documented 10.45 compared to a 7.89. And here again, laps led 147 in the next gen. Prior to that, he had 342. But he does have 2 poles in the next gen car versus only 1 prior to that. So I know they've improved and he's still in contention. We'll see if he can knock that door in and get the victory now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he wants to break through that for sure. Okay, notable road course struggles. Ryan Blaney is on a 24 race streak without a top 5 finish on road courses. He's never finished top 5 in the next gen car on a road course. Brad Keselowski is also on a 21 race streak without a top 10 finish on a road course. And Kyle Larson, who won 2 of the last 10 road course races, but only has 1 top 10 finish in the other 8. Are drivers that you probably don't want to put on your fantasy list this week.
Well, when we look at that, unfortunately, like you said, Brad Keselowski, the one we got to start with, most road course starts without a win. Brad Keselowski at 54 starts, finished second 3 times. Then you got drivers like Dave Marcus had 50 starts, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 48, Ryan Newman, Michael Waltrip, Austin Dillon, and Ken Schrader. Brad at the top there as far as best finish, too. The only other top 5 finish, Dave Marcus third, and Ryan Newman did it 2 times of finishing second, and Michael Waltrip 4th twice, as well as Ken Schrader. And most runner-up without a road course win of active drivers, mentioned Brad Keselowski with his 3 second-place finishes. Chase Briscoe won, Austin Cindric won, and Ty Gibbs. Austin Cindric, the one that stands out there, I feel like he should have had several victories already on road courses.
Yes. Okay, and he'll be one to watch this weekend. I don't think he was on the struggling list. Okay, Hendrick Motorsports road course legacy. Hendrick Motorsports did not win a road course in 2025. That's kind of surprising. That ended their Cup record of a 7-year streak with at least 1 win. Now, Hendrick Motorsports also leads all teams in poles, wins, top 5s, top 10s, laps led, and average finish on road courses all time. And their drivers won 5 of the last 13 road course races, with 3 different drivers winning. Kyle Larson twice, William Byron twice, and Alex Bowman 2 times.
Well, and Chase Elliott wants to get his name back in that mix for sure. When we look at HMS COTA performance, they have won 2 of the last 5 COTA races. Chase Elliott back in 2021, and then William Byron in 2024. Now, Byron leads all drivers with laps led at 71, and he won the pole for 2 of the 5 races in 23 and 24. Alex Bowman is one of the 2 drivers to finish top 10, as mentioned, in all 5 COTA races. And HMS is the only team with multiple cars finishing in the top 5 in each of the 5 races at COTA. They've had at least 1 car finish in the top 3 in each of all 5 races, and they have never had a car finish off the lead lap at COTA in the Cup Series. That's pretty impressive. Again, they may not be getting the win, but they are very, very, very solid.
They are. Okay, now let's look at the next-gen road course performance leaders. None other than Shane Van Gisbergen at the top of the list there at 7.58, and Chris Buescher at 9.04. They are the only drivers with a top 10 finish on road courses in the next-gen car. That's pretty amazing. The best on road courses in the next-gen car based on average finish. We mentioned Shane Van Gisbergen's number. That's in 12 starts, 23 starts for Chris Buescher. But then you go down to Chase Elliott at 10.45 average finish in 22 starts. Then we've got Tyler Reddick at 10.48, similar in 23 starts, 11.9 in 23 starts for Christopher Bell, And 23 starts for Michael McDowell with a 13.7 average finish. Then you go down to William Byron at 13.26, again, 23 starts. In 22 starts is Alex Bowman with a 14.59 average finish. And with 23 starts, Ross Chastain has an average finish that coming in at 14.65. AJ Allmendinger, 14.83 on 23 starts. So there might be a few names in there you may want to consider for your fantasy group, but Taz and I will zero in on that on Friday.
And I remember last year when we started comparing these next gen starts that Chris Buescher was second to only SVG.
Yes.
That was a little surprising to me again. And we always see him and consider him a solid driver, but to be towards the top like that was pretty impressive. Now, when we're talking about the next gen car, the road course winners, again, Shane Van Gisbergen, top of the list with 6 wins. Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick with 3. Bell and Byron with 2. And then that list of single drivers of Allmendinger, Bowman, Buescher, Chastain, McDowell, Suarez, and Martin Truex Jr. on there as well. When we look at top 5s, there the edge goes to Chase Elliott with 11, Christopher Bell with 10, Tyler Reddick at 9, and then Kyle Busch, William Byron, Michael McDowell, Shane Van Gisbergen at 7. The 3 drivers there, Alex Bowman, Buescher, and Kyle Larson at 6. When we back it up to the top 10, there Chris Buescher up at the top, 17, along with Tyler Reddick. Telling you, man, that right there, looking at this weekend, going to be interesting. Christopher Bell and Chase Elliott each have 14, Michael McDowell 13, Allmendinger 12, Byron and Chastain with 11. So you see a lot of the same names, and that just the excitement I get thinking about it of how competitive this weekend will be at COTA.
Absolutely. Now let's look at the longest active top 10 streaks on road courses. Shane Van Gisbergen is on a streak of 8. Tyler Reddick a streak of 4. Bell at 3. And Daniel Suarez and Chris Buescher at 2 apiece. Drivers to lead at least 100 laps on road courses in the next gen car. Well, Van Gisbergen is at the top of the list at 342. Tyler Reddick second place at 209. Then we go down to 147 for Chase Elliott, 142 for Kyle Larson. Then it drops into the 130s, 138 for William Byron, 132 for Michael McDowell. Then we drop into the teens with Christopher Bell at 114, AJ Allmendinger at 111, and Ross Chastain right on the mark, that 100 mark. So interesting to see some of these names. Like you say, some of them all the same, but just shows you that's kind of an expertise that you either have or don't have coming to this track.
And when we look at 2025, again, we got to start with Shane Van Gisbergen, but the best average finish in the road courses for full-time drivers. Van Gisbergen at 1.83, Christopher Bell next at a 6.17. That's 5 position gap there. But then it's kind of tight. Tyler Reddick, 8.5. Chris Buescher, we mentioned the 9.67. Chase Elliott right there on the edge at 10.0. Chase Briscoe, 10.83. And William Byron, 12.33. And Michael McDowell, he's another one you can't count out. He's got a 12.67. Here's where it really impressive. The running best average running position throughout the year. Shane Van Gisbergen, average running position, 2.9. Your next best is Christopher Bell at 8.49. And then Chase Briscoe's already into the 10s, 10.66. All the others are in 12 and 13. Ross Chastain, 12.12, 12.46 for Tyler Reddick, 12.68 for AJ Allmendinger. Ty Gibbs at a 12.76. We've seen his name a couple times. And Chris Buescher at 13.16. Shane Van Gisbergen just, man, unbelievable.
Okay, now the worst average finish on road courses last year among full-time drivers. Cody Ware has the worst finish, average finish at 30.67. Austin Dillon at 27.67. Carson Hocevar at 26.83. I suspect that might change this weekend. We'll have to wait and see. Kyle Larson at 26.17. Ty Dillon at 25.83. Noah Gregson, 25.67, as is Brad Keselowski at 25.67. And at 25.33 is Austin Cindric.
And this next one just backs up all those other stats. Laps led on the road courses for last year, 301 and 5 victories for Shane Van Gisbergen. All the other drivers didn't get a victory. Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch, 42 laps led. Dowell, 39. Kyle Larson, 30. Ty Gibbs, 27. Chase Briscoe, 21. AJ Allmendinger, 17. But you got Pac-Man up front just gobbling up those laps.
They are indeed. And that would be SVG. Okay, now laps run in the top 10 on road courses last year. 85% of Shane Van Gisbergen's 497 laps were in the top 5. That's incredible. And to just how incredible is it, take a look at Christopher Bell in second. He has 276 laps led. His average finish, though, comes in at 47.7. So that is how amazing that stat is for Shane Van Gisbergen at 85.8. Then you got William Byron, 197 laps at 34%. Chase Briscoe, 195 laps at 33.7%. 159 laps for 27.5 for Chris Buescher. Ryan Blaney, 150 at 25.9%. Kyle Busch, 141 laps and 24.4%. And at 24.2% at 140 laps is Tyler Reddick. Now, on the right side, you've got laps in the top 10 on road courses. This on the left side was top 5s. These are top 10s. Again, some astounding stats here for Shane Van Gisbergen. 552 laps in the top 10, or 95.3% of his laps. Christopher Bell, 441 at 76.2. Chase Briscoe at 343, 459.8%. William Byron, 311 for 53.7%. Michael McDowell, 304 at 52.5%. Chris Buescher, 302 at 52.2%. And AJ Allmendinger, 275, 47.5%. And at 47.2, with 273 laps in the top 10, is Ty Gibbs.
And here you have that breakdown of that 95% in the top 10. You can see all 100% at Sonoma. Most of them only 1 starts or limited starts. The 2 I want to highlight here, COTA, which is where they're running this weekend, 2 starts, 102 laps, 163 of 163 laps. One of his lowest, 62.6%. And then the only other one that wasn't 80 or above was the Indianapolis road course at 61%. Charlotte, Roval, Watkins Glen, Chicago Street Course, Mexico City, all 80, 90, and then up to 100% at Sonoma. That's tough to beat.
Yeah, that's tough to beat. Okay, let's look at the 25 road course performance in the past 6 races. Shane Van Gisbergen looks like he's at the top in all 3 categories, top 5s, top 10s, and laps led, and decisively at the top on laps led, 301 compared to second place driver Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch at 42. Then on top 10s in second place at 5, you've got Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick. And in top 5s, actually Christopher Bell and Shane Van Gisbergen are tied at 5 at the top. And then it goes down to 3 for Chase Elliott and Michael McDowell. Top 10s, we go down to Chris Buescher, William Byron, and Chase Elliott all tied at 4. And on the laps led category, we mentioned Michael McDowell at 39, Kyle Larson at 30, and Ty Gibbs at 27. So some pretty amazing stats here at the top of the list. In 25, 9 drivers had 2 top 5s 10 drivers had 3 top 10s. So that's really a demarcation line right there.
And that leads to points because, again, if you're running up front, getting those stage points, finishing up front, that totals or equals into points. Shane Van Gisbergen had the most at 200. Again, Christopher Bell second, but by a margin of 73 points. He's at 220. Tyler Reddick, the only other one above 200 at 203. Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, Ryan Blaney, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher in the 180s, 190s. And then you're dropping down already 176 for William Byron, 172 for Alex Bowman. You're giving up almost 100 points there from Alex Bowman to Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah.
You can't be doing that.
Yeah, that's a lot. All-time road course records and stats. Most road course wins all-time by a driver. Well, Jeff Gordon is at the top of that list with 9. But when we look at our current drivers, current active drivers, Chase Elliott comes in at 7th on that list, along with Kyle Larson at 6. So most of these are some of the older time drivers. Shane Van Gisbergen also at 6 on that list. And then on the right side, most road course starts all time. Kyle Larson has 4 wins in 64 starts. Terry Labonte, 2 wins in 63 starts. Then we go to 61 starts for Denny Hamlin and Kevin Harvick. The tiebreaker there, though, is really Kevin Harvick with the 2 wins compared to Denny Hamlin at 1. Richard Petty, 60 starts, 6 wins. So that's pretty impressive. 56 starts for Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. Joey Logano has the 1 win. Martin Truex Jr. has 5 wins. And then Ricky Rudd with 6 wins on 55 starts, and Brad Keselowski with no wins and 54 starts. So some really interesting stats there.
And we talked about some of the top 10s, the longest streaks there. You can see Mark Martin at the top with a streak of 16 races in 1993 to 2001. And again, that goes back to only 2 races, Watkins Glen and Sonoma. Jeff Gordon also there with 12. His was from 1994 to 2000. When you look at active streaks, though, you find Shane Van Gisbergen at 8. That's half of what Mark Martin had. Started in 2024 at Watkins Glen and is currently active. Chris Buescher mentioned kind of a sleeper when it comes to road courses. He had a streak of 8 from 2022 at Sonoma to the Chicago Street Course in 2023, as did Kyle Busch in 2015 from Sonoma to 2018 at Watkins Glen.
All right. And then we have the best average finish on road courses all time with a minimum of 4 starts. Shane Van Gisbergen, the current driver, Shane Van Gisbergen and Chase Elliott on this list, with other names like Fireball Roberts, Buck Baker, Marvin Punch, Marcos Ambrose, and Dan Gurney. So Shane Van Gisbergen is at 12 starts with an average finish at 7.58 compared to Fireball Roberts with 9 starts, 2.78. And then at the bottom of the list, in 41 starts with a 9.27 average start from Chase Elliott. The best average finish on road courses among active drivers, again, Shane Van Gisbergen at the top of that list with that 7.8 and 12 starts. Chase Elliott comes in second, and you see what the spread is between all-time and active drivers. Tyler Reddick comes in at 32 starts and 11.81 average finish. Chris Buescher at 12.7 and 43 starts, 13.0 for 32 starts for Christopher Bell, 14.21 and 38 starts for Kyle Larson, and 14.79 and 56 starts for Joey Logano. So some names to keep your eye on this weekend.
I think that's the first time we've heard Joey Logano's. That's not a bad average finish, but again, not one I would have considered a top road course ringer for sure.
Yep.
And when we look at the organizations by a team, Hendrick Motorsports leads there by a good amount, 31 wins. Joe Gibbs Racing's next at 16. Bunch of organizations with 8 or fewer. Trackhouse Racing, Wood Brothers, the 2 with 8. 7 for Richard Childress Racing, and then Petty Enterprises, RFK Racing, and Team Penske each with 6. But we got to look at this next gen car. Again, it's new era. There it's Trackhouse Racing with 8, and that's thanks to SVG. Hendrick Motorsports still right there with 6 of their own. But then the drop goes to Joe Gibbs Racing with 3, RCR, Richard Childress Racing with 2, 2311 Front Row Motorsports, Colleague Racing, and RFK each having 1.
Now, recent drivers who got their first Cup win on road courses, at the top of that list, going all the way back to 2014 at Watkins Glen, is A.J. Allmendinger. He has a total of 3 wins in the Cup Series. Then you go to Chase Elliott, 21 wins in the series, but he got his first Cup win at Watkins Glen. Christopher Bell did it at the Daytona road course back in 21. He's got a total of 13 Cup wins. At COTA in 22, it was Ross Chastain getting his first win, but he has a total of 6 wins. Sonoma, Daniel Suarez in 22. June, he has 2 wins. 9 wins for Tyler Reddick, but his first win came at Road America in 22. And Shane Van Gisbergen got his very first win on his very first race, the Chicago Street Race, but he's already accumulated 6 Cup Series wins.
Now, the most different road course with the wins, again, you got to kind of keep this in a perspective of going back in the day, there were only 2 or 3 versus we had as many as 7. But Chase Elliott, his 7 wins came on 5 different tracks. Shane Van Gisbergen, 6 have come on 5 different tracks. A.J. Allmendinger kind of falls into that old school category. His 3 wins came on 3 different tracks, as did Jeff Bodine. The other active drivers, you got Kyle Larson, 6 wins on 3 different tracks. Tyler Reddick, 3 on 3 different tracks. And then Christopher Bell, 3 for 3 as well. When you look at Cup drivers by foreign-born drivers, though, Shane Van Gisbergen at the top of that list with his 6. Daniel Suarez, though, has 2. Remember, Juan Pablo Montoya has 2, as does Marcus Ambrose. And then you got Earl Ross and Mario Andretti, who each had 1.
Now, ones to watch this weekend, I'm going to show this probably in the fantasy report as well. But let's look first at the hot drivers to keep your eye on. And starting with Shane Van Gisbergen, winning the last 5 road course races. He's led the most laps in 4 of the last 5 and finished in the top 10 in the last 8 road course races. Tyler Reddick's on this list because he won both races in 2026. He's going for a streak of 3 in a row this weekend at COTA. He finished top 10 in all 5 COTA races, including a win in 23. And he finished top 10 in 5 of the last 6 road course races. Now, Christopher Bell, he won this race last year for his 3rd top 3 finish in the last 4 COTA races. He's a 3-time road course winner, and he finished top 5 in 6 of the last 7 road course races. Now, your cold drivers, the ones that you probably don't want to pick this week, are Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin. Ryan Blaney has yet to finish in the top 5 in 23 starts on road courses in the next-gen car. He has only 1 top 10 finish in 5 COTA starts and 1 top 10 finish in the last 6 road course races. Denny Hamlin has never finished in the top 10 at COTA in his 5 starts. He only has 1 top 10 finish in the last 11 road course races. Then we take a look at the sleepers, starting with Alex Bowman. Alex finished top 10 in all 5 COTA races. He won the Chicago Street Race in 2024. He might be a good sleeper pick for this weekend, along with Chris Buescher. We talked about some of his stats. He finished top 10 in 17 of 23 road course races in the next-gen car. He's also finished top 10 in the last 3 COTA races, and the last Cup win was at Watkins Glen in 2024. So Alex Bowman and definitely Chris Buescher, drivers to keep your eye on this weekend.
Yeah, I don't know if they fall into that sleeper category, being that we do know how good a road course runners they are. I think the ones you got to watch, I would add in there Kyle Busch and then Joey
Yeah.
Logano. Like I said, Logano's stats surprised me. We talked about it a little bit, just in case fans don't know. From the change from 2024 to 2025 at COTA, they eliminated part of the track, cut it out. So in 2024, it was a 3.41 mile course with 20 turns for 231.88 miles. But in 2025, with taking off, I can't think of the term, but an inner loop, trimming part of the course, it's now 2.4 miles, 17 turns, and they'll run 95 laps. So again, that brought it from 1,360 turns in the 2024 races to 1,615 in 2025, which is 255 more turns. So they will run this new layout, the national layout is what they're calling it, with the 20 turn, 2.4 mile course, and eliminates a mile of the backside of the full course. So that increased the lap count from 68 to 95. And again, that was kind of for the fans because that backside was not as visible to the fans. So they were trying to keep the cars in front of the fans more often.
Yes, that's why they made that change. Looks like the weather's going to be fairly good.
Yeah, hopefully. I know we've battled that throughout. And again, that we had a really good last year of not having weather issues as much. Maybe used it all up last year. But hopefully we do have good weather and can move on into the season and focus on these storylines like Tyler Reddick going for 3 in a row, Shane Van Gisbergen trying to continue his absolute road course dominance.
Absolutely. All right. We'll stop sharing our notes here and just say watch for more coming soon from Bamford Racing Radio. We've got all of our previews done. They'll be coming out between today and tomorrow. And then on the other side of the weekend, we'll be back after the checkered flag on Monday night with our Hot Topic sound off and review of the races that took place this weekend. And as Jay said, we don't want to forget about our ARCA West race out at Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway this weekend, but all 3 series running in NASCAR's group. So earlier this week, Race Chat Live put out a program on Wednesday night. You'll want to listen to their takes on some of the hottest news stories in NASCAR right now. And then on Tuesday, we interviewed, Sal interviewed Stephen Blakesley with Blakesley Sports Media. And that was an interesting interview with him about how you get into the sports media realm as an announcer or a PR person or whatever it is your dream. So an interesting interview for sure. So we'll be back Monday night, 8:15 p.m. for all of our reviews and our Hot Topic sound off.
And I think one of the hot topics might be who beat Shane Van Gisbergen. I know tomorrow when you do your fantasy pick, he's obviously a favorite, but I really have a good feeling with some of these drivers we talked about. And I think I would look at Chase Elliott as he's figured out this next-gen car. We saw he was the king of road courses prior to, hasn't quite capitalized on wins, but I think we've seen him pick it up. So Tyler Reddick, he's got a shot at that 3 in a row, a lot of momentum. So I don't know that I would inscribe the trophy yet for Shane Van Gisbergen, but it's probably written in pencil at least.
At least. Who's your pick? Are you picking Shane or are you picking Tyler?
Man, you know what? I'm going to go on the wild upset, and I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. I think we've seen RFK with Ryan Preece, him and unfortunately Brad, maybe not so much on the road course, but I think we see Chris Buescher maybe sneak in there if I had to go against Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah, I like Shane Van Gisbergen. I really think Shane Van Gisbergen is the guy to beat at COTA without a doubt. But I would like to see Tyler Reddick make some history and make it 3 in a row.
Whoa. I can't believe we didn't even talk about it in this one. I know we did in the O'Reilly Auto Parts. What about the two that went head-to-head in the O'Reilly Auto Parts? Connor Zilisch in the Cup Series this year.
That's right.
Can he come out as a rookie and do it like Shane Van Gisbergen did?
Dark horse guy.
There's your dark horse. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we'll keep our eye on that. Well, I'll tell you what, Jay. We've got the preview done. The storylines are set and the stage is ready. Now we find out who delivers this weekend. Be sure to join us after the race for the full breakdown and reaction. This is where the racing conversation lives, and we'll see you after the checkered flag.
I'm excited for it.
Me too.